Markers, Platoon Commander Deluxe, the Battle of Kursk. Battle Overview. Operation Citadel kicked off July 5th, 1943, and ended July 16th, 1943. The subsequent Soviet counteroffensive lasted for another 5 weeks, with large territories being recaptured. The German High Command had aimed for a bulge in the Soviet lines that extended 100 miles into the German lines and measured 150 miles wide from north to south, but in the end were unsuccessful. Platoon Commander Deluxe Kursk portrays this battle through a series of scenarios. Section 1. General Concepts. The map covers a fictitious landscape over which the units do battle. The counters represent vehicle platoons, 2 to 5 vehicles, infantry platoons, 40 to 60 men, and various support teams identified by the NATO map symbol and an illustration of the weapon or soldier on their counter, the counter's names, and the scenarios in which they are employed. Each turn represents 15 minutes to 1 hour. Each hex represents approximately 150 meters. Section 1.1. Dice. Numerous 10-sided dice, die 10, determine the results of fire combat, close assaults, and other game functions. 0 is considered 0 and an even number. Section 1.2. Game Pieces. Platoon Commander Deluxe Kursk is played using large 1-inch square game pieces. These pieces fall into 2 broad categories: units and markers. Units. These are the pieces that do the fighting. They include tanks, infantry transports, infantry, etc. In short, a unit is any game piece that contains an illustration of a vehicle and or a NATO symbol and an illustration of the weapon or soldier. The Soviet units are light green, the German are light gray. The numbers on the counters represent the following: armor-piercing firepower, APF. Top left number represents units' effectiveness against armored fighting vehicles, AFV, in Section 1.4. High explosive firepower, HEF. Bottom left number represents units' effectiveness against leg units, Section 1.4. The range at which a unit can target an opposing unit with its APF and HEF is represented by the color on which it is printed: blue, red, gold, green, or black, and the color of the font. Blue is the longest range, black the shortest. See the player aid card. Armor, top right, represents an AFV's armor thickness and difficulty to hit. Close assault factor, bottom right, represents units' effectiveness in close assault. Movement factor, MF, bottom center, represents the unit's speed expressed in movement points, MPs, Section 5. If centered on an explosion, it can move and fire, Section 4.4. If enclosed by a circle, it can transport units, Section 5.1. Markers. These are markers that define states or benefits, including moved, fired, disrupted, wreck, aid, dug in, barbed wire, mines, aircraft, and focus markers. Section 1.3. Stacking. Up to 2 units may stack in a hex. Stacking limitations apply at all times. Markers do not count against stacking. Leg units being transported by an AFV do not count against stacking. Section 1.4. Unit types. Leg includes the troops who fought with rifles, submachine guns, light machine guns, rocket launchers, mortars, anti-tank guns, recoilless rifles, etc., and are represented by a NATO symbol and an illustration of the weapon or soldier on the counter. Armored Fighting Vehicle, AFV. Any unit with an illustration of a vehicle on the counter, with two exceptions. AFVs are hard targets. The two exceptions are trucks and horse-pulling teams. Trucks and horse-pulling teams are considered soft targets, but use AFV costs for movement and AFV column shifts in combat. Section 1.5, Eligible Unit. An eligible unit, EU, is any unit that is neither disrupted nor marked with any other status marker, such as fired or moved marker. Mark says, read that again, it's a crucial concept in the game. Section 1.5, or Section 1.6, Action Cards. There are 18 action cards. Each card has two sections indicated by the combatant's identifying flag. Each scenario will indicate how many action cards the players receive at the start of the scenario. Each player draws the scenario designated number of cards per turn, Section 2.2, and may play up to 2 cards in the turn during the phase indicated on the card, when the player would normally be eligible to take an action or in response to a card played by an opponent. For example, the Soviet player wins the initiative, hence they are eligible to rally first. Because they are eligible to take an action, i.e. rally, the Soviet player decides to play Kontrabadar Ogan, requiring the German player to discard all artillery cards. In response, the German player slaps down 999, negating the Soviet card. In the fire phase, playing a card with the keyword attack counts as an attack. For example, the German player who has the initiative plays an artillery barrage to open the fire phase. After resolving the attack, it is the Soviet player's turn to declare an attack.